Before we move on to the next dye, I did want to show you guys the one from the last video. I let it sit for one more day in that solution, and it really blackened up nice. And I have a nice deep rich black now, which is a lot better than what it looked like the last. So just like always, like I said in that video, you know, the longer you let it sit, the more vibrant your color. So it's all about patience with some of these. Hey guys, and welcome back. Today for our fall dyes, we're going to be making a dark brown dye using walnuts, which are in season during autumn. But first we have to prepare our material to be able to absorb the dye. In order to do that, we're going to be mixing water and vinegar to start, depending on what type of ingredient you're using to make your dye, whether you're using berries or plant material, nuts, so you're going to use a different ingredient to prepare it. And we'll just bring that to a simmer. And immerse your material into the pot and leave it at that simmer and let it soak in there for about an hour or so. Okay, we will keep you occupied while that's simmering for that hour or so. What we're going to have to do is you always want to break whatever ingredient you're using to make a dye up into smaller pieces, around pea-sized pieces or so. The difference when you're using walnuts is you have these two parts here. You have the very outer shell and then the inner shell to the nut. The outer shell, if you use that, it's going to give you a blacker dye. If you use just the inside, it's going to give you a darker brown dye. I'm personally going to use both, probably a little bit more of the inner than outer so that I get a nice deep, almost black brown. These shells typically come off pretty easily. If they don't come right off for you, you can just bang the top of it where the points all come together with a rock and it should split it open enough to pull apart. If you get a green husk, which looks more like that, you're going to want to put that aside and let it dry out and just save that for a later use because it will take quite a bit to dry out. And then once it's broken up, you can just use a rock or whatever means you have to just break that right up. Some nuts will take more than others to, some nuts will take more than others to break, but it's pretty simple. And do that with all of your nuts. I actually have quite a few here that I've already done. And so that you know how many to use, you're going to use double the water as the ingredient. So since I'm using about 9 cups to be able to cover that material of water, I'm going to make about 4.5 cups of these chopped nuts. My material has simmered for that hour. I pulled it out, I replaced into my pot some cold water, and I'm just going to rinse this in it a little bit to get the vinegar out, and make sure that your water runs clear. This one's doing fine. Sometimes depending on the type of material that you have or what dyes it already has in it or anything like that, you're going to get some muckiness into that water, and that's just the oils and everything getting relieved from the fibers of the fabric so that it's capable of taking up new dye. And this is coming out clear as can be, so I'm just going to make sure that I've got all my vinegar out of it. And then I'm going to hang this up to dry, and we'll start preparing our dye bath. In order to make our dye bath, we're going to need fresh water. I'm using about 10 cups. I use 9 for the vinegar bath. I'm going to use 10 just to make up a little room for evaporation and that kind of thing. And then again, we're going to add half the amount of material to it as there is water. So since I have, I don't even have 10, I have 11. So since I have 11 cups, I'm doing about 5.5 cups of chopped walnuts. And I'm just going to insert that right into the water. Make sure that gets nice and submersed into your water. Everything's nice and wet and covered. And then I'm going to stick this on the lower part of the fire for now. I'm going to get a grate in there. I'm going to bring it to a boil, and then I'll remove it back to the top to let it sit at a simmer for another hour or so. Now that this has been simmering for at least an hour, you're going to want to strain out all your material with whatever means you have. You can see the color that we've got in there. Place your water back over your heat so that it stays simmering. And add your material to your dye bath. Get it nice and submerged. I may just have to move that around now and again. I could have used a little more water apparently. I'll be able to get it down there with some work though. But now you can leave this anywhere from an hour to overnight depending on how dark and vibrant you want your color to be. Just always remember that when you pull it out about a shade darker than you actually want it to come out because it is going to lighten up as it dries. So I'll show you how this works as we go. It's been soaking for a while. It didn't get quite as dark as I had hoped. I think I need to use more husks next time and make it a little stronger to get a darker color. But I did get a brown, and I wasn't sure if it was just the material not soaking it up as well either. I did get a nice khaki looking brown on the hat so far. But then I took a cotton sock and put it in there about halfway through, and you can see how much darker that came. So the type of material seems like it's definitely taking a difference on how it soaks up the dye or not. Did come out quite a bit darker, so I'm going to run some fresh water over this and rinse it out, and we'll see what color it is after I get the excess dye rinsed out. Alright, so I did get a nice khaki color. Not quite as dark brown as I wanted. It is darker than what it's looking like on my viewfinder here. I did get a nice light brown out of that. Definitely a good khaki color. So yeah, just experiment, you know. I'll probably make it a little stronger next time to get a darker brown out of it. Maybe let it sit a little longer than I did. But it is actually a really nice tan color, so. And I did, I disposed of my dye. The only thing is, if you're going to dispose of it, either dump it inside. If you're going to dump it outside, don't dump it near your crops or anything. I'm not positive, but I know that when you plant walnut trees, it can kill certain types of plants around it from chemicals that it releases, so I don't know if that would do the same thing, but just to be safe. Otherwise, you can always save your dye. Just store it in a nice, tight glass jar, not a plastic or anything. Store it in glass in a dark area, and it should keep for a bit to reuse if you wanted to. But I'm still pretty happy. Not dark like I wanted, but I'm pretty happy with the khaki color that I've got going on here. I wish it showed it a little better on the camera. It is darker than what it looks like. But thank you guys so much for watching. I definitely appreciate it. Make sure you guys check out our other videos. I'll have more dyeing videos coming out soon. And of course all the other camping videos and that good stuff. So thanks for watching, guys. Have a good day.